Welcome in On Deck, everybody. Thank you so much for going ahead and jumping in the chat early on. See a lot of you guys in there. And we do have a lot to talk about tonight. Before we do, as always, this video is sponsored by Llerandi Gloves. And we got some more to talk about Llerandi Gloves later on in the show, so stick around for that. But, of course, their website and contact are down there. If you're looking for a baseball glove, not a better bang for your buck. More on that later. Got something exciting to show you later. They sent me a certain something in the mail today, so I'll show you guys that later on in the show, right before autograph of the day. But we do have a lot to talk about. First off, got to go through some of the headlines real quick. Number one being that Max Fried is cleared from the COVID exposure. Don't know if you guys heard about this last week. I don't even know if I told you, but Max Fried possibly got exposed to coronavirus last week and was out. Never really was a fear, which is why I never really mentioned it, but there was, it's a headline. You got to talk about it. But he is cleared from it. He will probably pitch over the next few days. He already resumed normal precautions yesterday, and he'll have a side session if he hasn't already, and will make his spring debut this week. So he will still have time to make 4, maybe 5 spring training starts prior to opening day, and I expect to, for it to be just fine. Look, he missed one start in spring training. It's not like it's that big of a deal. But on the flip side of that coin, Sean Newcomb, we got one back and we lost the other. So Sean Newcomb is now out with COVID exposure, and of course that's something to be somewhat concerned about. But again, it's very low risk, and I really wouldn't worry about it too much personally. So we'll see what happens. Again, I am not too worried about it. Ultimately, COVID. We're sort of, I hate to say it this way, but we're sort of in the backstretch of COVID. We sort of understand it a little bit more these days. And I think it's a matter of time before we see Sean Newcomb back with the Braves. But in some more positive news, some more baseball-related news, Charlie Morton debuted in spring training this week. He looked pretty good. I don't know if you guys actually watched, but he looked pretty premier. 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, only 1 walk, and he had 3 strikeouts. So look, I have said multiple times, I don't need Charlie Morton to lead this staff. I need Charlie Morton to be on the back burner, ready to go when necessary, and be that veteran guy in the back of the rotation, ready to perform in the postseason, late in the postseason. And I think he's going to be that guy. So to see him debut like that in spring training, obviously he's wanting those last few years to be meaningful, and his spring training late in the postseason. And I think he's going to be that guy. So to see him debut like that in spring training so far has been meaningful, so that's a very good thing to see. Look, Charlie Morton's a former Brave. He's a playoff contender. I think he's been in the playoffs a lot of these past few years. He was with Houston. He was with the Rays. He's got a lot of postseason experience, and that's a very good thing to have. But to see him debut like this in spring training, to be that ready, his debut, he pitched 3 innings. No one else on the Braves so far has pitched that far into a game. Granted, they weren't expected to, but no one else has done that. So it's a very good thing to see out of Charlie Morton early on in spring training. So another starting pitcher we should talk about when it comes to spring training is Mike Soroka. Now, this is interesting. And now, look, we all remember August 3rd last year, right? If you don't remember that day exactly, you're going to know it as soon as I mention this. Soroka, down and out with an Achilles tendon injury. I watched it live, and all of the hopes and dreams with an already limited pitching staff. You remember, but since then we have gone back and forth on when Soroka live, and all of the hopes and dreams with an already limited pitching staff would return. I still think it could happen by opening day. I'm not going to say I expect it to happen because I don't, but I think it could happen based on what we're hearing. If not opening day, it's not going to be long after that regardless, but Brian Snitker has hinted that this may happen sooner. Yes, you heard me correctly. He may return before opening day. First off, Saturday he was cleared to take batting practice at spring training. He has already been participating in some on-field drills as well as throwing live BP. So, look, his arm's fine. Why can't he throw live BP? But there is obviously still some precautions. He's not doing running drills. He's not doing, certain, different things. But Snitker basically said this, and the media ran with it, but he said everything is lining up well, and he can't line up and race, but everything is pretty good. So could Mike Soroka be back before opening day? Could he be in the starting rotation on the opening day roster? If so, that is a game changer. All this talk about Bryce Wilson, all this talk about Kyle Wright, Waskari Noah lately, that sort of goes away if Mike Soroka is back. So as much as I like Ian Anderson, as much as I like Max Fried, I would still say that Mike Soroka is the most proven outside of Charlie Morton in the rotation right now. And even with Morton, Soroka's the Braves' star player when it comes to the pitching staff. Now, Max Fried took it and ran with it last year, but I think we all would agree that having Soroka back is going to be a major impact, regardless of when it happens. Whether it happened halfway through the season, it's going to be a major impact, you know, on the Braves' run this year. So he might not start on opening day, but he's the guy the Braves are looking for to lead this rotation for the next few years, and at least I think so. It's a good thing to hear. Obviously there is a possibility that he is not back by opening day, and we talked about that a good bit. We talked about it last week with Bryce Wilson. He wants that starting rotation spot, quote unquote, more than anything, and I mentioned that, and I talked about Kyle Wright, those two being high possibilities in a sixth depth spot. And I thought they were the front runners in that scenario, but I may have glossed over Huascar Ynoa when I said that. So this has been spoken a lot about in the past few days. Snit said that we're going to stretch him and see where he fits. And I still think the best spot is in long relief for Huascar Ynoa. Not starting. At least not yet. He might do it next year, but I still think he's going to wind up in long relief, maybe just a one-inning relief, depending on how well he's doing. So I see some comments in the chat saying we're real laggy. I'm not sure how bad that is, but let me know if it's really bad. I'll restart and see what I can do to fix it. But I think we're just gonna continue on, unless there's a major objection to it. I think we're gonna keep going. So let's talk about one of those other guys that's in the front running, Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright had a heck of a day on Friday versus the Twins. 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. A lot of ground balls, including that 1 hit he gave up, but he got out of that inning on a double play ground ball. And last week, we talked really high on Bryce Wilson. Like I said, we talked just now really high on Huascar Ynoa, but make no mistake, Kyle Wright is competing too. And this is an interesting spot here because these guys aren't necessarily competing to be within the starting rotation. They're competing to be the 6th spot. So that tells you just how good the starting rotation is going to be this year. And starter or not, Kyle Wright could be a very valuable member of the Braves pitching staff in 2021, whether it be in long relief, whether it be somebody gets hurt. I mean, we all know how that feels. So it's really good to know that we have Bryce Wilson, we have Kyle Wright, we have Huascar Ynoa ready to take the mantle if need be. And to be honest with you, after last year, after what we saw out of those guys last year, it would not surprise me if, it wouldn't, I would not be fearful to see those guys in a starting role, let's say, in the NLDS, right? It wouldn't have as much fear as it did this past year. And look, this past year was a different story. These guys were young. Now they got a year under their belt. They got a postseason experience under their belt, especially Bryce Wilson. The postseason experience he had versus the Dodgers is tremendous. So I look forward to seeing Kyle Wright's development, obviously, after a day like that. And I look forward to seeing Bryce Wilson, his development. Huascar Ynoa. I would even say Ian Anderson, because I know Ian Anderson's proven, but look, he still has less than a year of experience in the major league level. So, I think you're going to see Ian Anderson in the starting rotation, and rightfully so. He hasn't lost that spot yet, don't get me wrong. But Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson are linked at the moment. I hope they have superb years and long relief, because I think that's where they belong at the moment. But I'm not worried about starting pitching for the next years to come. Whenever Charlie Morton's contract runs out at the end of the year, he may or may not come back. Whenever Drew Smiley's rounds up, I'm not worried about starting pitching. The Braves are going to have that. But obviously they needed a bit of an advancement this year if they're going to make a postseason drive. But don't be surprised if the Braves don't go out and get another starting pitcher if Charlie Morton was to leave, because they may already have him in the works, but they just need a little bit more time to develop. And I think that's the case with a lot of these arms and with a lot of these prospects you're seeing, like Christian Pache. So we've got a super chat, and I always try to stop what I'm doing and read a super chat if they're given. So Trevor Herbertson, appreciate you, man. Keep it up. You're going to blow up soon. Always look forward to your videos. Man, I appreciate that more than you know. I appreciate the super chat more than you know. That really makes my day. A lot of work here at On Deck. I'm not going to bore you guys on how much I work on this stuff, but I do really research this stuff and try to give you good content. So that really makes my day to hear it, man. Really appreciate it. So let's talk about Christian Pache. A lot of you are talking about Christian Pache possibly making the opening day roster. Obviously, there's a bit of conflict there. Ender Inciarte, longtime Brave, is already in that spot, kind of. I think you're more than likely going to see Christian Pache either take that spot on opening day or overtake that spot as time goes on. It's yet to be seen what's going to happen, but it's catching a lot of attention right now, a lot of my attention. Yesterday, Christian Pache all of a sudden triples to deep right. The ball could have been caught, I thought, if a better fielder was out there. They're playing the Red Sox. I didn't recognize that outfielder, but I think it could have been caught. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't. So he drove in a run on that, drove in Jake Lamb on that play, and he ended up at third base for a triple. And I think he would definitely be at center field at some point this season, opening day or not. If I'm a betting man, I would probably say, like, if I had to pick, obviously I'm going to pick Christian Pache to take that spot. But at the same time, money-wise, if I get another year of control on Christian Pache by waiting it out a month, don't be surprised if the Braves wait it out or try to wait it out. They may pull him up if there's a desperate offensive need, but I doubt that's going to be the case. So I would not be surprised if they wait a month before they bring him up. But we'll see. I think Christian Pache has a lot more power, has a lot more, frankly, a lot more upside. He's younger. We pretty much know what Ender is, right? He's not on an $8 million a year contract for nothing. We remember his All-Star year, but after that, he hasn't really been that much. And it's no knock on him. He's getting older, and he's just not that player. So it is what it is. I think Pache is definitely going to be in center field at some point or another. More on that later in the show. We're going to talk about the lineup yesterday and just how much I think that's going to resemble what the lineup's going to be moving forward. So we'll talk about that in a few. But if you watched the game yesterday, Chipper Jones had an interview with the broadcasters during the game. And, it was about a 5 or 6 minute interview, and it was basically, a lot of it was talking just to Chipper about Chipper's career, about Chipper's, family, whatever, right? But there was a portion where he talked about this new role he's taken on. And I thought he had some very interesting answers. So we're going to talk about those real quick. On his role, Chipper said that he is enjoying his time thus far. When he called Alex Anthopoulos this offseason, he really wanted to do more than be quote-unquote assistant to the GM. He said he really felt like he could do things. He was seeing things on TV and could help these guys with their swings. And obviously the Braves have a good club in Atlanta, and who wouldn't want to be part of it? So that's what he said on his new role. And I think that's a very good way to put this. It doesn't surprise me he's enjoying it. I think Chipper, has been, in a way, a coach for some years now. And it doesn't surprise me at all that that he did this and he said this. So it does intrigue me that he called Alex Anthopoulos and asked to be have a more prevalent role. It does kind of intrigue me with that. I think that was a pretty cool touch on that quote there. But he also spoke on his ability to teach, and this is something that I've wanted him to talk on. So I thought I might intrigue you too. And if you haven't seen this interview, I encourage you to go find it. But on his ability to teach, Chipper said that he thinks that the most important thing with him teaching is that he does not try to make people become prototypical Chipper Jones hitters, right? He said you do your homework, you find out what works for these folks, and you do and what doesn't work for them. So he said that also being the son of a baseball coach and a teacher his whole life is going to help him learn to communicate, and he said that's one of the most important things. So I think that quote, the biggest thing in this whole interview, I think he said, was the most important thing in coaching is to not make these guys prototypical Chipper Jones hitters. And you see, Freddie Freeman always credits Chipper with one aspect of his swing. If you watch Freddie swing, he's talked about it multiple times, so I hope I don't bore you here, but he keeps his wrists on the white line of the batter's box, right? Through the zone, right? He said that's the one thing Chipper, told him, and it stuck with him, and it, changed his whole career. And he credits him with that, but he doesn't credit his entire swing to Chipper. And I think that a lot of these guys can pick up one or two things out of the brain of Chipper Jones that really impact their swing. Guys like Johan Camargo, guys like Austin Riley, guys like that are just almost ready to, to cross over into that, other level. Dansby Swanson, another one. Freddie Freeman's there. You're not going to change Freddie's swing. He's pretty much got his swing down. Travis d'Arnaud pretty much got his swing down. Those guys are older. Marcell Ozuna, I don't think Chipper Jones, you don't want Marcell Ozuna to be a Chipper Jones style hitter. You want Marcell Ozuna to remain a Marcell Ozuna style hitter. There are very two different swings. There are very two different types of play. Regardless, I think Chipper is a guy that can relate to Marcell and relate to how he swings and figure out something, some little thing to even make his game advance further. So let's talk about some of the new Braves talent. Or some of just the Braves talent in general. I think we saw a lineup over the past few days that had a lot of similarities to what I would predict as the opening day roster. The difference, you might ask, is the DH. The Braves start with a road trip, but it's with a National League team. It's the Phillies and the Nationals in their first two series. So Jake Lamb will not be the DH, but the lineup over the past few days was Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Jake Lamb, and Christian Pache. So I think that is a very similar lineup or indication of the lineup that we're going to see throughout most of 2021. The biggest difference is Jake Lamb's obviously not going to be a DH. You're going to move Pache up one spot and put a pitcher in that 9-hole. But other than that, this is a very similar lineup to what I would predict to be, not to say opening day roster because that's kind of hard to predict, but I would say this is the lineup you're going to see throughout most of 2021. It doesn't surprise me at all that Freddie could be in that 3-hole. He's talked about that pretty extensively. We talked about Christian Pache starting opening day. That could happen. You could see Ender Inciarte in that spot, but I think that it's interesting. Ozzie's in the 2-hole. He's usually in that 6-hole. That's about where Dansby's at. Wouldn't surprise me at all if you switch those two, depending on who's hot at the time, if those two switch throughout the year. But I think you got to keep Acuna at lead off. I think Freddie being in the 3-hole is not a bad touch, especially going through a 162-game season. Marcell being clean up there, Travis d'Arnaud giving him protection, and Dansby giving him protection, and Riley giving him protection. So I think it's very interesting. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Obviously, this is going to fluctuate throughout a year. You may see Jake Lamb take a few starter spots, especially if they're facing an American League team at home. But this is a very good indication of what the lineup's going to be. Again, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley. I think Christian Pache, and then the pitcher hole, Jake Lamb on a DH day. But I think that's a very good indication of where the Braves are looking at right now. I also think that if they were facing an American League team on opening day at home, you would see Jake Lamb at the DH hole. So I think this is a prototype to what you see opening day. Not exactly. I think you're going to see minor changes due to obviously being in a National League park, but I think Jake Lamb is the guy they'd go with on opening day in a pinch hit opportunity if need be. Whether that be in a 7th inning or 8th inning or 9th inning, Jake Lamb is the guy they could go to. And what I mean by that is Jason Kipnis, obviously, here's the thing. There are a lot of people vying for that bench role, right? But none mix veteran approach and current success more so than Jake Lamb currently on the roster in terms of just a bench role. What I mean by that is Jason Kipnis has veteran approach. And so does Pablo Sandoval, who had a big hit yesterday. But I'm personally taking Jake Lamb over both of those guys based on what we've seen at spring training. And I know you're going to say it. What about the kids, right? Alex Jackson, William Contreras, Drew Waters, Trey Harris, Michael Harris, Bryce Ball. First off, remember that this is one spot. And I would say that Lamb is more proven than all of those guys. Their time will come eventually, but not on opening day. I think throughout the regular season, if Lamb is starting to diminish. But I really think Jake Lamb's going to surprise a lot of you. So, in other news, the Braves take on the Pirates tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. We are going to read some of your questions in just a few minutes. But we are going to move into autograph of the day after that, and that's going to be a pretty good one today. It's going to be a young Braves, I wouldn't even say prospect. He's already kind of crossed into the major league level, just to give you a hint there. But he does not play every day. He's only had limited experience at the major league level. So that'll be a fun one to talk about in just a few minutes. Again, we want to talk about Llerandi Gloves. They obviously are sponsoring this video, and I want to show you guys something they sent me in the mail. Now, I flashed that black and red glove a few times, and look, these gloves, guys, are the best out there in my opinion. In my humble opinion, there is no better glove than Llerandi Gloves right now. And they did send me a glove, I'm going to read you off the description for it, how I got it first, and then I'll show you in just a second. But this is the new Japanese Kip Leather 5 model. It is a traditional Japanese infielder pattern with a deep and medium wide pocket. It is characterized by the capability of a quick transfer from ball to hand. So let's take a look at it real quick, guys. It's a really pretty glove. The leather's really nice. It's kind of stiff right now because it's brand new, but I would be lying to you if I told you I didn't already take this outside and throw with it today and try to break it in a little bit, because I was so excited. As soon as I knew I was getting one of these things, I was standing by the mailbox every day. And guys, again, the prices, you can't beat them. This right here is $250. Might sound like a lot if you're shopping at Walmart, but not if you're shopping for a big brand. The big brands that do this exact same thing, $359. $250, you can't beat it. Free embroidery too. Go check them out. Their link is right there. The link is also in the description, and their phone number is right there. Of course, they want you to be happy with your glove. Look, baseball season's happening right now. I've seen Little League pictures all over my Facebook timeline, so I know you have too. Go get your kid a new glove. Go get you a new glove if you're in high school. Look, I promise you, you'll not be disappointed. These are the best out there. I would buy this right now. If I had this, I'd probably be playing Major League Baseball rather than talking about it. I'm telling you, go check it out, Llerandi Gloves, and you won't be disappointed. So, again, thanks to Lou Llerandi over there. Sent me this, and I really can't thank him enough. It's a good sponsor for me to have. Really like those guys over there at Llerandi Gloves. So we're going to talk about some of your comments in just a second, and then we're going to move into autograph of the day. Get them in. Get super chats in. Those are always appreciated. Again, thanks to Trevor. We really appreciate that donation. Really helps me a lot, and it really helps me keep this thing going. So let's get some of your comments. Hey, Jesus, thanks for coming in, buddy. He said he was going to watch Momentum's premiere, but nah, I appreciate that. You know, I didn't know I was competing with Momentum tonight, so really appreciate that. I appreciate you tuning in. Bash Brothers, what's going on? Based Alaska says Charlie Morton was looking pretty good. Yeah, he was. We talked about that earlier in the show, and not to restate it, but 3 innings pitched, and let me see, 3 innings pitched and 2 hits. Yeah, I'll take that all day long with a guy that I'm not really, again, expecting to lead the charge, but if he can, I'll certainly take it. Let me see. Bash Brothers also says, everybody like the video. Yes, do that. Also, subscribe. I know I haven't said it so far yet, but yeah, do me a favor. Go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Share it with your friends. Get it out there. That really helps me out, really broadens my audience, and we're growing fast. We've already passed the 1,600 subscriber mark this year. I think we started the off season at around 1,300, so we're really moving fast. Help me get up there, trying to get to 2,000 here pretty soon. I think it'll happen hopefully before opening day, possibly, just maybe. So yeah, go ahead and do that for me. We're really growing fast, and we're so glad you guys are a part of it. So really appreciate that. But we are going to move into some more of your comments. Let me see. Tyler Duncan says he's been waiting for this. Well, I hope I met your expectations there, Tyler. That's a lot to ask. Yes, I did shave. I appreciate it. It was not intentional. It happened in an accident. So F in the chat for my beard that is no longer here. Let me see. Trickshot God says Inoa is the GOAT. Yeah, he had a bit of a tough appearance. A lot of bad breaks, not necessarily anything he could control. I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say he had a bad appearance. He really just, some ground balls got through, things like that. Really a bad break, but yeah, he looks like he has improved. That no doubt about it. By all accounts, every media outlet out there, if you just the eyeball test will tell you he's improved over the off season. That's a very good thing to see over a guy that I really want to see develop in long relief specifically this year, just because that's what I think we're going to need mostly throughout the postseason. Because again, our starting pitching is not a worry for me this year. Not like last year. Our bullpen is where I think we're going to be a little bit lacking. Not even in a bad way necessarily, not in the way that we were a couple years ago, just in the way of we didn't put all of our attention on the bullpen, right? Shane Green's yet to be signed by anyone. That could still be remedied, but we didn't really put our full attention like we normally do, because usually we're expecting our starting pitching to be, you know, right there front and center every year, and then it wasn't this year. So, and not to say that in a bad way, but the bullpen carried us through, so I really think they put most of their attention in starting rotation, and I don't think that was a bad thing. But, you know, it is what it is. I think it's more so about getting a more full team. The bullpen obviously needed no help. The offense obviously needed no help, and starting pitching did. So if you remove a couple pieces from the bullpen and then you put a couple pieces into the weakest part of your team, I'm okay with that. So personally, but it is what it is. I really think that Inoa's going to develop, and he's going to be a fundamental part of the Braves, and he's also really cheap at the moment. So that's a good thing. Let me see. I know I've got a couple comments about us being spotty tonight. I hope it's not that bad, guys. Sorry about that. Can't really do anything. YouTube's been having some weird issues lately. I don't know why. What do you feel about the Freeman hitting in the 3-hole instead of the second? I think the Braves are better with Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna leading off the Braves' attack. Well, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll go in a little bit more depth with it since you asked. I would say that Freddie hitting in the 3-hole in a 162-game season is a little bit different. Also, I would add that Albies coming back kind of changes that, because when Albies left is about the time Freeman moved to that 2-hole. And I think Freeman in the 2-hole obviously helped him win the MVP. You know, he saw more at bats, Ozuna behind him protecting him. But I think Ozuna's still going to be behind him protecting him. And as much as I'd like to get Ozuna as many at bats as possible, having Albies back kind of changes that, because Dansby obviously was hot last year for a little while. Then he sort of slowed up. But having both of those guys, one of those two guys is going to be hot at any given time, Dansby or Ozzy. And I think whoever's the hot one at the time, whoever's got a hit streak, whoever's doing really well at the time, you put in the 2-hole. Whoever's not, you switch them to the 6. We've sort of seen that in recent years with those two specifically, and I think you'll see that this year. And look, I am not opposed to either. I'm not opposed to Freeman being in the 2-hole. I'm not opposed to him being in the 3-hole. I think Freddie's going to thrive really no matter where he's at, and I think he's going to help carry the Braves offense through. But with Albies being back, think about it. That's like a free agent being back. And I said that last year about the time he did come back right before the postseason. So I really think having him in the lineup is the main reason you're going to see Freeman move to that 3-hole. But good question. Let me see. The thing about these rookies is that we still have to see what adjustments hitters make when facing them. Agreed. We saw that with Austin Riley on the flip side. Austin Riley came in and absolutely was a savage for the first month of his career, and then pitchers adjusted to him. So it'll be interesting to see how good hitters, how veteran hitters adapt to these young pitchers. And I think that will happen over time. But look, that's the battle, right? You're never going to just absolutely crush someone. So I think that you're going to see a continued development over years. Soroka wasn't good immediately. He wasn't great immediately. He obviously had talent, but he struggled, as did Max Fried, as did a lot of these guys. Like Kyle Wright right now. Max Fried wasn't too far from where Kyle Wright was last year, 2 years ago. So just keep that in mind. It's a continuous development for anyone. But, yeah, good point. Let me see. Have the Braves hit a home run yet in spring training? I know it's only been like 7 games. Just wondering how this new ball will play. I believe they have, I want to say. I know I haven't really mentioned one, but I believe they have. If not, they've sort of had some wall scrapers, but I believe Albies hit one. Yeah, Albies hit one. I actually have it right here if you want to see it. Hang on just a second. Albies hit one the other day. It was gone. So, yeah, they have hit one in spring training. So, yeah, good question, though. They haven't hit a whole lot, but I know Brett Gardner hit one the other day, so it's not impossible. So if he can do it, I think anyone can. I don't know how much they've deadened the ball necessarily, but, if Brett Gardner can hit one, I think anyone can, because he's not really a home run hitter. So, interesting point, though. I appreciate that. Pache has to start at the opening day season. Ender's best days are gone. I agree, but again, with Moneyball, you never know what's going to happen. As Aiden mentions underneath you, they should start Ender for about a month so we can have an extra year control on Pache. Yeah, I think they're going to value the year over that month, but we'll see. I think it's going to depend on how much detriment Ender is to the club offensively. If the Braves are struggling offensively, I think you do see Pache possibly come up before the month is over. But I think if they're smart, they're going to wait it out and they'll see. But I think if I had to pick one, I'm gonna pick Pache. But at the same time, that's another year of control, not another month, a year. So it's kind of a hard choice there. Let me see. Trevor, have you heard anything about Luke Jackson? He hasn't played at all in spring training yet, has he? I haven't seen it. And to be honest with you, he's the one I want to see. He's the one we're paying $2 million a year this season. I want to see him. We didn't get Duvall and we got Luke Jackson, I believe, in the same week. So, yeah, I want to see him get some innings. What's the difference? Why did we keep him? I have all those questions. Is he vying for a bullpen spot? Because if so, he needs to be having the most innings. I said the other day I wanted Austin Riley to have the most at-bats. And at that time, he did. He was doing a lot of good with it. But in the same token, I want to see Luke Jackson have the most innings in terms of a bullpen piece. Not even the most, but a good bit. I want to see how much he's improved over the offseason. So, yeah, good point. No, I have not seen him at all. I don't think you're supposed to openly manipulate service time. Pache should start. Yeah, you're not supposed to openly do it, and I don't think they're going to. That's why another reason, of course, you all saw the Seattle Mariners incident with their general manager. That's why I think you could see Pache, but if you're smart, you're not supposed to openly do it, but it's easy to say, well, we just want him to get a little bit more development for the next month. Make sure he's good to go for this 162-game season. Because in fairness, he only had limited experience last year. Now, I'm not saying he didn't have good experience last year and he's not ready to go, but he didn't have very much last year. And he didn't have a lot of time against actual minor league talent. He had a lot of time at the training site against his own team. And you can tell me all day long that he's ready, but at the same time, if you're not seeing actual competition at your level, how much can that be for certain? And I think you got to look at it that way. It's not so much that they're openly manipulating service time. They may just say, hey, why not use this month to make sure he's developed, to make sure he's, performing well against talent at his actual level before we stick him in here and have him have an Austin Riley style first actual rookie season where he comes up and is successful for a month and a half, and then all these pitchers adjust to him and he can't compete with it. So I think they're just going to make sure he's ready to go, and also keep in mind they're based Alaska. These guys have options, right? Pache, I'm sure, has a bunch left, but they don't want him to come up and send him back down and come up and send him back down. They want him to come up and never come back. So I think it's not so much that they're going to openly manipulate his service time. They want to ensure he's ready, more so than I think it's openly manipulating service time. But I get your point. Let me see. How far away is Waters? I think if the outfield wasn't as stacked as it was, Waters would be on the major league roster. I think his offense could use some assistance. He had a big double the other day, but he had some he had a double the other day. But I think his offense could probably still use some work. Not necessarily, it's not a knock on him, but yeah, I don't think he's that far away. I just wonder where he goes. Because you're not going to put him where Ozuna's at. You're not going to put him where Acuna's at. And you're probably not going to remove Pache to put him out there. So I just question where he goes. He may have a couple pinch hits. But I've said before that, it's looking like somebody's got to be a trade piece. And it's not really, I don't want to see him go. But at the same time, I just don't know where he goes. So if somebody from the Braves staff could let me know, I would let you know. But yeah, I don't know where he goes at the moment. So, but that's a very good problem to have. So keep that in mind. Atlanta Kid drops the super chat. Appreciate that, man. What is your middle relief predictions? Well, I think Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson are your first ones, because I don't think they're going to be a setup man or a closer. I think your closer is probably going to be Will Smith, and I think your setup man's probably Matzik, who could also be long relief, or AJ Minter. But your middle relief, I'm thinking Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson, Waskari Noah, Luke Jackson, Josh Tomlin. Outside of that, I really don't know. I think it's still kind of open competition. Grant Dayton's back, I believe. He's probably middle relief. But yeah, that's probably where I would stand. But I think your headliners are Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson, and Waskari Noah. And I say headliners because those are the kind that we didn't have last year. Let me see. Sorry, guys. The Braves said they want a full stadium for the All-Star game. Do you have any info on opening day seating? Last I heard, Derek Schiller, the CEO of the Braves, came out and said that he was going to have an announcement over the next couple of weeks, so it could be any day now. I'm going to do my best to be at the All-Star game. If it's full capacity, I know I'll be there. So I know basically I think they're using spring training as a kind of a trial run, I guess. And I hate to say it that way, but it is. It's a trial run. So I think you're eventually going to see full capacity this year. I don't think baseball can afford not to go full capacity. So we'll see. But personally, I think you'll see eventually full capacity. On opening day, you might not. You might see half capacity. Because spring training, I think they have 30%, but that's what's mandated. Also, I think you're in a bigger stadium. There's more sanitation stations, to frankly get away with it. So I think half capacity. They may do what they did last year in the postseason, and that was not near half capacity. I'm thinking about a fourth capacity. That was in Texas though, so I don't know. I don't know if state rules make you do something different, but I know they're working with their partners and the hospitals, and I know they're also working with the state of Georgia on that, I'm sure. So I don't really have an update for you, I'm sorry to say, but I think you'll have one pretty soon. Yeah, Travis has a home run too. Thank you for pointing that out. I actually have B-roll of that too, oddly enough. Yeah, Travis is a killer. And Travis d'Arnaud is going to be your guy, I think, to start the season, obviously, at catching. And then the backup is where the actual competition is for catcher. Shea Langoliers, William Contreras, Alex Jackson. That's where your actual competition is at the catching position. What do you think a Dansby Swanson extension looks like? I think 3 to 4 years. I don't know what the price tag would be, but I think 3 to 4 years. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have a longer term deal. He's a hometown kid. He is not the best shortstop in baseball, but he certainly holds his own. I don't see any reason not to have a Marcell Ozuna style contract, not the level, not the amount, not the dollar sign, but the length. I don't see any reason not to have a 3 to 4 year deal. It may be longer, but I don't think you're going to see a 1 or 2 year. I just don't. He gets better every year. There's no reason to give him not to give him a long term, and especially if he takes like an Ozzy Albies style figure. Yeah, I say you gotta give him 3 to 4 years, max $8 million a year, $8-9 million a year. But we'll see. Offensively, he's not the cornerstone, but he is a big part of the team itself. So I think I think you got to give him a 3 to 4 year deal. I keep hearing that players with Soroka's injury don't come back. Ryan Howard had the same injury and it ended his career, many others as well. At the very least, the players are quote-unquote never the same. I would say if you're a position player, that's probably true. But Mike Soroka's a pitcher. He's not... Ryan Howard's also required to play first base because he's at a National League team. He's also required to hit a baseball. It's a lot more stress. And I'm not saying that pitching isn't, but it's not the same. You're not having to, run up the middle to catch a ground ball, really. I think you might see him limited on defense to some degree, but I don't think you're going to... He's also really young. Ryan Howard wasn't really young. So I think you're going to be all right there. I really don't think it's going to be something to be concerned about. And the way the Braves are talking about it, I really just don't see it being that big of an issue. Obviously, it's going to be something to work through, but I don't see it being career-altering or career-ending or anything like that. Let me see. Adam Wainwright went from being an ace to just being serviceable after the same injury as Soroka. Yes, he's also older. That's the only thing. The age is going to be a different thing. Atlanta Kid, you say I forgot Jacob Webb. Well, I don't think he's going to be middle relief. I think Jacob Webb has potential to be the 8th inning guy, honestly. So we'll see. I am going to wrap it up there, guys. I see the comments are kind of ending, so we're going to wrap it up there. We are going to move into autograph of the day. Give me just a second. I actually forgot to get this one off the shelf, so give me just a second. But I know exactly who we're going to do. Sorry about that, guys. We got it. Yeah, we got a ball. It is signed by a kind of a prospect, I guess, but it's a guy we've talked about a lot throughout this show. And we are going to talk about this ball. And I guarantee you're not going to be able to tell who this is. If you can, I'll be very impressed. It's not exactly a signature that you're going to recognize, which is okay. But I did get this one in person, and I got it at spring training 2 years ago. I've sat on it for about 2 years. I knew this guy was going to be really good. I still think he's going to be really good, and I think it's a matter of time before we see him here pretty soon. So that is actually William Contreras. I saw him running around at the single A site at the old spring training park, and he signed it, and he stopped what he was doing and signed it. I thought it was very nice of him. He was a very nice guy, and it was a really cool signature. At the time, it was a very rare one. You couldn't really find William Contreras out there except on a card, so it was kind of a cool thing to have at the time. It's still a cool thing to have. I think he's going to be a big part of the Braves' future. So it's kind of that's autograph of the day, though, William Contreras, and it's a really good one. I think he's got plenty of time to do more with his career. So, yeah, William Contreras is autograph of the day. And we're going to finish with this. I don't really know how to start this, but last year, I got a lot of heat for, I'm not even going to say defending, but for believing that Mike Foltynewicz could come back and be an influential part of the Braves' rotation or bullpen. This isn't Braves news. I'm just going to forefront this with that. But it's worth talking about. Mike Foltynewicz is a friend of the program. And I really like the guy under the hat on the mound. He had a tough last year. And we all remember, a lot of struggles to work through. And I defended him a good bit last year. Much to some of your disagreement. And I'm not picking on you, but much to some of your disagreement. But I just want to give credit where it's due. Mike's spring training debut was a couple of days ago. He had 2 innings pitched, and they both were perfect. And he was not facing scrubs. Let me just say that right now. He faced some of the Dodgers' best. In the first inning, he was 1-2-3 versus Betts, Seager, and Smith. His fastball is up to 97 miles per hour. And I got to tell you, I'm more than happy for Mike Foltynewicz. And I've said this before, but I'll never stop saying it. Mike Foltynewicz is a great pitcher, a great person, and I can't wait to see how he does for the remainder of the year. I hope he's a fundamental part of the Texas Rangers organization. And he's not a Brave anymore, but I will forever be a Mike Foltynewicz fan. He's always been very nice to me, and he's worked his tail off to get where he's at now. So, Mike, congratulations. Long road ahead, but you seem to be prepared for it. So happy to see you being successful. So that's what we're going to finish off. I know it's not Braves, but it's something that I wanted to talk about. Again, Mike Foltynewicz, 2 innings pitched. They were both perfect in spring training. Again, it's just spring training, but you got to give credit where it's due. Hopefully we see him have a good career. I hope to talk to him soon, actually. So we'll see. But I am going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being so active in the chat. Super chats are always appreciated. Really appreciate that a lot. We are going to wrap it up. So for me, for the studio, for everybody in the chat, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Going to wrap it up. And we will see you guys later. Thanks again to Llerandi Gloves. Go check those guys out. The website is in the description below. Go check them out. They are worth it. I promise. I want you to be happy with your baseball glove as much as I'm happy with mine. So go check them out. As always, guys, see you Thursday, 8 p.m. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Hang on. We got to run that back. Hang on. Thursday, I will not be in studio. I'm so glad I said that. I will not be in studio Thursday. I will not be in this room. I will be going live, but I will not be in this room. I will actually be in Northport, Florida. So I don't know what the setup's going to be. It might be my hotel room, but I will be going live from Northport to give you what I saw at spring training, and we'll be talking about it. So make sure you tune in Thursday night. It'll be a very fun episode, and I can't wait to hear from you guys there. So again, Llerandi Gloves. Again, thanks for the super chats, but we are going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much.